Firstly, everyone ready to go? Well, firstly, can I just say good afternoon and thank you for coming out to sunny Pakuranga. This is, of course, the electorate of my good friend Simeon Brown, so it is good to be here. We've just wrapped up our last Back on Track tour. We've had over 10,000 people come out to these tours over the last few months actually. And it was very special today to have a Warriors supporter here, and with that I'd say up the Wars. And with that, happy to take your questions.
Luxon, will you rule working with New Zealand First out?
As I said, they're not in Parliament, they're not above the threshold. Our position's really clear. We are here to make sure that there is a guaranteed change to this government, and that means you've got one thing to do, which is to party vote national.
So what if after October 14th they are in Parliament? Will you rule them out then?
Well, as you can see, and for several months now, we've been able to form a government with our partner ACT, and I'm confident that will be constructive. But what I'd just say to all New Zealanders, if you want a guaranteed change of government, there's only one thing to do, which is to party vote national, and I'll continue to advocate strongly for it.
Now, Labor has given certainty to its voters that it won't be working with New Zealand First. Is the lack of certainty from National turning voters off?
Well, I'd just say to you, I think what you're seeing is a very unstable coalition of chaos emerging on the other side.
Mr. Luxon, we haven't seen you in Botany, part of Otara.
Sorry, mate.
We haven't seen you in Otara, Mr. Luxon.
Hey, buddy, why don't we just be respectful of everyone else?
I am being respectful, Mr.
So
Luxon. We haven't seen you down in Botany at all, and
I think you're a candidate.
We would like you
I think you're a candidate for Vision, right?
We're part of Freedoms New Zealand, and we would like you to turn up into our communities. You are part of Botany, and Otara is part of that, and we have never seen you down there, Mr. Luxon.
Mate, so very comfortable.
We've never seen you down there when the shootings have come past. We've never seen you down there.
Hey, why don't you be a bit respectful, buddy? Because
I am being respectful.
No, we're having a conference here, and you're wanting to.
You don't listen to us, Mr. Luxon.
No,
we're
very
forgotten
comfortable
community in Pēmio or Otahu.
I'm happy. I just said
Where were you when the gun shootings were happening, Mr. Luxon?
I said I'd come and talk to you.
What
mate.
about What about Black Rock?
We're happy to have a chat with us.
Our farmers, our growers, we're standing on their behalf.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be very respectful
and
to
I'm
you.
being very respectful.
No, you're not.
My community,
no, you're not.
Mr. Luxon.
Well, I said to you, I'll come and talk to you afterwards.
My community is a desperate. They're thinking for housing.
So do you think this is really helping your case?
I'm asking Mr. Luxon. We've been working on the ground.
And I'm very happy to come and talk to you afterwards.
We've been working with families.
Be respectful and let me finish.
You said you've got the solutions to send our children. I'm part of Otara, and we've been doing.
So sorry,
you're saying you're the better of the two Chris's, Mr. Luxon, but you see you're the better of the real Mr. Chris Luxon.
Oh, you're a funny guy, mate. You're a real funny guy. You're no Slim Shady,
you're
buddy.
You're a Christian, but then you're not changing anything with abortion.
Yeah, mate.
You're not doing anything with.
If you want to be respectful, but you're not being respectful.
I am being respectful.
I don't think you're modelling out your values very well.
We don't want to be forgotten people.
Yeah. I'll come and chat with you afterwards if you'd like to have a proper conversation.
I'm just putting it to you, Mr. Luxon, that we are looking for answers.
Absolutely, and happy to talk with you after this, but you're being disrespectful.
I'm not being disrespectful.
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Mr.
Okay,
Luxon.
sorry guys.
We've just got a little bit of time to talk to him. So
I'm happy to stay here. I'm happy to stay here.
Okay.
I'm just asking, will the real Mr. Chris?
Okay, sorry, we'll go inside because
Yeah, I'm asking for Mr. Luxon. Sir, I know that you're going to be the next Prime Minister, so our communities want to hold you to account, Mr. Luxon. Our communities want to hold Mr. Luxon, the Prime Minister, to account because he's never turned up to any of our areas of Otara.
Is that right?
But
Well, welcome to Pakuranga. Thank you for coming out here to this wonderful electorate that is Simeon Brown's hometown. So apologies for the delay there, guys, and thank you for your patience. And with that, happy to take questions.
Mr. Luxon, are you running 2 ticks blue in every electorate?
Absolutely.
Even Epsom, so you're ruling
Absolutely.
out the Act?
Absolutely.
And what about the Māori electorates? Are you, you're not running in all of those?
We've picked 2 electorates to run in, and that's really a decision that we made some time ago, and I'm very proud of that. We've got 2 outstanding candidates running there, and they'll be running very strong campaigns. I think, as I've said so many times before, I want to see a national party, and that means taking our principles and our plans and ideas to all communities across New Zealand.
So, so you're not ruling out Winston Peters, is that a tactic so you have more negotiating power against it?
No, it's just simply that he's not in Parliament, he's not above the threshold. I'm focused on maximising the National Party vote. I'm not focused on any other party. As I said, it's very simple. It's a 2-tick blue campaign, and if you want a guaranteed change to the government, there's only one thing to do, and it's to party vote national.
Act's position would be weakened though if New Zealand First was an option.
Again, I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on maximising the National Party vote, and that's what it's all about. That's why we've got the ideas. We think we've got the energy and we've got the team to actually deal with the big issues that New Zealanders are experiencing: cost of living, law and order, crime, health and education. Those are the big issues.
So why did you rule out Brian Tamaki's party, who are also aren't in government and also aren't polling above 5%, but you're refusing to rule out New Zealand First?
Well, I'm just being really clear with the New Zealand people. I want everybody to understand a vote for any other party doesn't guarantee you a change of government. There's only one thing that does, and it's a party vote national.
So if New Zealand First gets above 5% in News Hub's poll, will you then rule that it's in or out?
Look, as I said to you, the numbers that I've seen, they're not in Parliament, they're not above the threshold, and frankly, I'm not spending time worrying about them.
What do you agree with Winston Peters on? What do you disagree with?
I've got no idea. I haven't looked at their policies too closely. So what I focus on is the ideas that we have to take the country forward, and we've had 35 common sense policies and plans to do exactly that are practical and common sense, and I support those.
So you haven't thought through what you could work with them on?
You're being well ahead of yourselves. We have an election. We have a number of days to go. There's a long way still to go, and I am focused on making sure I take the ideas of the National Party to the New Zealand people, that they understand very clearly if they want a guaranteed change of government, and the choice is pretty clear: a strong national-led government or a coalition of chaos, and that's what I want. That's what I want them to understand.
But you must be focused on the first 100 days, and that will be shaped by those.
We have given thought to the first 100 days and the first 6 months, but at this point in time, what we are focused on is our plans, our ideas to move New Zealand forward.
Mr. Luxon, can I just ask you about the Pharmac, please? There's a national, countrywide campaign was launched this morning calling for a massive increase in spending on Pharmac so that New Zealanders don't have to leave the country to get medicine, saying we're at the bottom of the OECD rankings on publicly funded medicines. What's your response to that campaign being launched?
Well, look, I saw the campaign and some of the billboards this morning as I was moving around the city. There is no way that we'll be able to double the budget, but what you have seen is a commitment that we want to increase the health budget each and every year in a national-led government. And importantly, you've seen us even last week announce an incremental ring-fenced $280 million to be able to access the 13 cancer treatments that are available to Australians but not available here to New Zealanders. That's really important. There is 25,000 New Zealanders with cancer each and every year diagnosed. There's 10,000 that sadly die, and we have a 15% higher mortality rate than Australians. I don't want New Zealanders leaving the country. I don't want New Zealanders mortgaging their homes. I don't want New Zealanders raising give a little pages. So if we can access those 13 cancer treatments, that's a good sign. And then we'll have more to say about Pharmac before the election as well.
Right, because the Pharmac budget is more than $1 billion, isn't it? Much more than the amount you're talking about.
Yeah, but I just say to you, $280 million investment in 13 cancer treatments that Australians have, that we don't have, that the New Zealand Cancer Control Agency says would have substantial clinical benefit, meaning that they would save lives or extend lives, is a good starting point.
Just one last question on that is that the argument is you spend more at the top of the cliff, you're having to spend far less in your hospitals later on caring for these sick people. So isn't it actually a very wise investment to spend a lot more on Pharmac early on?
Well, that's why we're saying very clearly we want to spend money on those 13 cancer treatments that the Australians have that we don't have. It's $280 million ring-fenced incremental investment to Pharmac to purchase those treatments. And that's been recommended by the New Zealand Cancer Control Agency as identifying those are the particular treatments and drugs that would have the most benefit to New Zealand. Yes, we want to close the cancer gap with Australia. That's very important to us, and it's a good first step to do that.
Mr. Luxon, is National under your leadership still committed to UNDRIP?
We've been very clear, UNDRIP is something that is a non-binding referendum, and it's up for each individual country to bring it to life to advance their Indigenous folk and their well-being. We'll continue to do that, and we'll look at that very closely in government.
Mr. Luxon, actors calling for a referendum on co-governance with Māori. Is this something you would support?
Again, as I said, it's not our policy, and it's not something we support. We think it would be divisive.
Do you personally like Chris Hipkins?
I don't know him that well. I respect anyone that takes on the job of Prime Minister. I think it's an extreme job, and I respect that we may have different ideas how to take the country forward. I don't agree with his ideas, but it's not personal.
And what do you make of the Warriors season so far?
I think the Warriors season has been fantastic. I think it's been one of the great highlights in New Zealand, and I had a huge privilege of being able to flip the coin the other day and be in the change room with them afterwards. And I think the culture they've built in that team and the excellence, they're just a great example of what's great about New Zealand.
So you're very up the wires.
I'm very up the wires, as you heard me say before. So yeah, absolutely. And it was great to see we had a Warriors supporter with his beanie in here earlier today, which was fantastic. So yeah, up the wires.
There's been a report out today, you may have seen it, it came from the union movement, a report looking at the drivers of inflation in our economy, suggesting that more than half of it comes from company profits. What's your assessment of that? Does it ring true to you?
No. Let's be really clear about what's driving inflation. It's a government that's been the second biggest spender of government money per capita in the world. We were the fourth or fifth biggest printers of cash, and we shut the country down like no one else. And as a result, we spiked domestic inflation. And as a result, this government has driven up inflation and interest rates and put the country into a recession. We're the only country in the whole of the Asia-Pacific region now in an economic recession. And with that comes a rising risk of unemployment. So what you have to do is go back through and understand the history of economics and get to the causes, the underlying causes. Stop passing costs on to businesses that lead to higher prices and more inflation. Free up our immigration settings and red tape so that our businesses can grow. Go through the $137 billion, 80% increase in government spending and make sure we're getting value for money. Give people tax relief and get the Reserve Bank focused on getting inflation back under 3%.
Would company profits have any bearing on the rising inflation?
No, those 5 things are the things that you need to do to get to the underlying causes of inflation. Yeah.
Mr. Luxon, just on the disruption that we saw then, have you only gone to the rich white areas like you said?
No, I've actually spent quite a bit of time in Otago. I didn't get a chance to explain myself to the gentleman included, but I spent time with different community organisations, including Turn Your Life Around, a fantastic social worker organisation doing amazing work with young people, particularly Ram Raider kids. And obviously I spent time at Tangaroa College as well, a good amount of time at the school as well. So, the reality is, I think there's a way to have a discourse that's respectful. I didn't find that particularly respectful, but we're in a democracy and people are entitled to their views and how they comport and deport themselves.
I guess what he was saying was, and even though it was one person, was that there's a section of our community who National is not speaking to.
I disagree strongly. I think you're seeing with our selection this year that we are reaching into every community across New Zealand, and we are thinking very deeply about what impacts those communities. And I can tell you our most challenged communities, it's the cost of living, it's crime out of control, it's a poor education system, it's failing our kids, and it's a healthcare system in crisis. Those are the things that I'm fixated on fixing, and that's what we're going to do in government on October 15th.
Yeah. What are some of the bottom lines on tax that you're committed to? I mean, we've had a changing fiscal situation with the government. So, you said a number of things over tax over a course of period, and there's been, changing sort of economic circumstances. So what is the party currently committed to around tax?
Well, our position's been very clear for 18 months now. We don't believe in band-aid economics that is sort of rink-a-dink ideas that we've seen from this government. Whether it's been cost of living payments, extending a fuel subsidy, then taking fuel taxes up. It's all been Mickey Mouse, to be honest. It's been band-aid economics, as we would say. We've been very clear. The simplest, best way, it's not deeply ideological, it's not political. Many countries with centre-left or centre-right governments do it regularly, is to inflation adjust tax thresholds so people keep more of their own money in their pockets, because I trust them to spend and save it much better than I trust Chris Hipkins to do so.
So inflation adjusted tax threshold is the kind of minimum, that is the...
We'll have more to say about our full tax plan. That's coming very shortly, so watch this space. But, I've been talking about that as a central idea to deal with high levels of inflation as the best way to deal with that. Correct. Good. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming out. We really appreciate it. Go and enjoy the rest of the sunny day. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.